Hey guys, this is Brian Batter. Today we're going to be answering some questions on mutual funds. Now this conversation is going to be a little bit further advanced than the introductory conversations you might be able to find on YouTube. There's some great ones out there. Investing with Rose has a wonderful explanation on the introduction to mutual funds. And I spent 15 years in the financial industry. I've trained hundreds of licensed individuals across the country. And I found that when we do case study, there's three questions that tend to come up more often than others. The first one is, what's the difference between this average return that's being advertised on these statements versus what I'm actually earning? The second question is, help me understand the fees that are being charged inside of this account. And what do those fees actually do? What do they get me? And then lastly, help me understand why it is that I was told I have diversification, but yet when the market and the economy goes down, I'm losing money. So let's start with question one. Average versus actual return. Now, this, in my opinion, is a failure on the part of the educational system here, and it's a failure that Wall Street and the financial industry has largely exploited, happily, for decades now. Average return and actual return are two completely different things. Here's why. As an example, if you put $100 into a mutual fund, and in year one, that fund dropped 50%, that means your $100 went down to $50. Let's just say then in year two, that fund earned 100% return. That means your $50 just earned $50. So you started year one with $100. You end year two with $100. Your actual return is zero. You didn't earn anything. We're not going to factor in fees for the moment. We're just going to try this, keep this as simple as possible. So your actual return is at zero. Now, when you look at your statement, however, or you go online and you research your mutual fund, you're going to see that the fund will advertise a 2-year average return of 25% per year. Now, again, average return is what's advertised on the statements. It's what's advertised in the brochures. It's what's advertised in what's called the summary prospectus. These are the things that people might see and read before they make the decision to invest. Well, wait a second. I started year one with 100, it dropped 50%. Year two, it went up 100%. So 100 went to 50, 50 went back to 100. I didn't earn anything over those 2 years. My $100 year one is still $100 in year two. I have a 0% actual return. But the fund gets to advertise 2 years, average return of positive 25%? How? Negative 50. Plus positive 100 is 50. Divided over 2 years is an average return of 25% per year. I don't know about you guys, but when I first learned that 15 plus years ago, it got me aggravated. And as I explained this to people, thousands of people over the course of the past decade plus, they get aggravated too. Now, fees. Inside of all mutual funds, there are fees. They're called operating expenses. Those operating expenses can go in a few directions. The first one's going to be to pay for the research to determine which investments to place into the fund. The other way the fees could go is to compensate the representative who helped set up the account, whether it be a corporate 401k plan or an individual retirement account that you set up with a representative. All right, so let's think about this now. I'm paying a fee for someone to determine what to put in the mutual fund. Well, what does that mean? Easiest visual explanation is to think about an elevator. The elevator is held up by multiple cables. Well, that's your mutual fund. You're inside the elevator with your money. The manager of that fund gets to determine which cables to place on that elevator to hold you up. Now, the cables that they're choosing are going to come from, well, a specific set of choices. What do you mean? Your strategy that you chose. You're like, what? I chose a strategy? Yes, you did. When you pick the fund, could be a large cap fund, small cap fund, international, right? Could be a bond fund or balanced, which is Goldilocks, 50-50 stocks, bonds, basically. That manager is picking cables that fit the strategy you chose. You get oil and gas, healthcare, internet, large company, small company, whatever it might be. So someone has to do the research to figure out which companies should go into that mutual fund. But those companies are only going to be selected from the choices you made. Large, small, international, oil and gas, internet. Your decision has a major effect on what's going to happen inside of this fund. But there's a fundamental challenge, and this brings us to question 3. I thought I had diversification. Doesn't that mean I have protection? Well, not necessarily. See, the challenge is the mutual fund manager, by law, must stay invested according to the strategy that you chose. So you're paying them a fee. It's called an operating expense. And those fees can be anywhere between, if you're in a Vanguard fund, might be as low as 0.05, which is very small, all the way up to as high as, say, 2% plus in some cases. Naturally, the more research that needs to be done, the more expense you're going to pay. But once that choice of which strategy I'm using has been made, once you choose it, the manager's handcuffed to that strategy. It's kind of like you go to the diner, you order chicken parmesan, they bring you that chicken parmesan in a mutual fund. If you pick a chicken parm mutual fund, you can't change it. You're stuck with it. You got to eat the whole thing. At the diner, you can change it. Like, you know what? I don't want chicken parm. Send it back. Bring me out a Reuben. They can do that. Not in mutual fund land, however. What happens in the mutual fund land is that manager is stuck with your choice. So if you chose a large company strategy, what's called large cap, or an international strategy, and that strategy starts to go down in value, your mutual fund manager by law does not have the authority to sell the strategy, sell the position, sell the stocks or the bonds, and move it to something that's performing better or to something that's safe, like, say, cash. They're not able to do that because you hired them to manage a strategy. If you don't like it and things going down in value, like, I don't like this, well, you have to be the one to sell it. So again, you're paying fees, the operating expenses, but those fees don't protect you against loss. And over the long term, those fees will eat into your returns, meaning it's going to eat into the money that your money is making. And that could cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, last point about fees. In many mutual funds, you're going to pay to get into the fund. It's called an A-share. Easiest way I've been able to help people understand this, as over the course of our multiple years of training people, is going into the club. Now, if you have to pay a cover charge to walk in the club, you pay the fee on the door, at the door. You haven't even, heard a song, danced. You haven't even had a drink yet. You just walked in and you paid. That's what's called a cover charge or a sales charge. In the mutual fund land, it's typically called an A-share. And what it means is you put your money in and a portion of your money gets subtracted from your investment to pay the representative. It's a commission that's taken right off of the top. It could be as high as upwards of 6%. So you put $100 in, $6 gets taken away. You're like, oh, that doesn't seem so bad. Well, you're already 6% down. And it doesn't provide you additional value. Yeah, you have a representative to talk to, but that representative does not have the ability to change the management or the strategy. You have to take, hey, you know what, time to sell it. Now, some other funds don't charge you up front. They charge you on the way out of the club. It's called a B-share or back-end sales charge. Other types of funds don't have sales charges at all. You might see letters like C. In a C-share, you pay nothing going in. You pay nothing going out. You pay a lot, however, to stay in the club. High operating expenses, upwards of 2+% per year on a C-share. And then if you're fortunate, you get institutional class, and that just means you're buying in bulk with a whole bunch of other people. Usually, if you're a large corporation, if your employer is nice, they'll typically eat the cost and you end up letting you have lower operating expenses. Institutional share classes. Now, if you're doing this inside of an advisory account or a fee-based account through a Morgan or a Merrill, whoever it might be, you have an advisor. Now, the advisor is typically going to charge you a fee on top of the fund expenses. So there might be an advisor fee of 1%, otherwise known as a wrap fee, W-R-A-P. It wraps around your entire account. And then you have the mutual fund expenses. Now, that eats into your money over the long haul. And at no point will you be able to have protection against loss. Because should the market go down, your fund manager can't change his strategy. You got to be the one to change the strategy. Your advisor is probably managing 200 accounts. Well, if you're not their biggest client, the question is going to be what happens when the market goes down? So these are the questions you might want to be asking your advisor. Hey, what am I paying in fees? Number one. Number two, what protection against loss do those fees provide me? What protection does it provide my family if, God forbid, something happens to me? And then lastly, if this is for retirement for me, I'm concerned about outliving my money. What's the plan to generate income out of this strategy? Now, as we go on into our conversations, we're going to answer some more of these questions. We're going to get a whole variety of topics. I look forward to spending some more time with you guys. Click subscribe. Appreciate you spending some time here with us. Be well.